You may be shocked to find out. Now, before I begin, I want to make sure people know I'm not a physician of any kind. I'm not a DO. I'm not an MD. I'm not an ND. I'm not a chiropractor, okay? I'm not a nurse. I'm not an LPN. I'm not an RN. I'm not a nurse practitioner. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian, okay? I am not a physical therapist. I am not in any way qualified to give medical advice. This video and none of the videos on my channel should be mistaken as medical advice. They are not. They are my opinions as a layman. And if you're taking the opinions of a guy on YouTube, you got problems. If you have medical issues, or suspect that you have medical issues, it would be highly advisable that you seek the help of a licensed medical practitioner. And I would not, so obviously don't take my advice. Go to a guy with a license, or a girl with a license, or a man or a woman with a license, you know what I mean? Don't go to anybody on YouTube, okay? So, what you might find interesting if you're new to the concept of orthomolecular medicine or orthomolecular psychiatry is that foods, and there's a whole host of foods and natural and synthetic chemicals that work to aid the body in healing. Now, with orthomolecular medicine, you're not using unnatural substances. You're only using substances that occur naturally in the body, but there are also synthetic substances like N-acetylcysteine and things of that can help the body to balance itself, to balance its glutathione, things like that. But more importantly, let's talk about epigenetic adaptogens. An adaptogen is basically something that helps the body adapt to the environment. Some popular adaptogens are ashwagandha, ginseng. It's an herbalist term, okay, or a pharmacological term. Usually used in herbalism, but I have seen pharmacologists use it also. But epigenetic adaptogens are adaptogens that help your genome adapt to the stresses of the environment. And I'm going to get into that. The first I've ever seen the term epigenetic adaptogen, which I think is an ingenious way of saying it, was in the book by Kara Fitzgerald, Younger You. And I highly, highly, highly encourage people to read her book, Younger You. I also encourage people to go to her website, youngeryou.com. So, what are adaptogens? What are epigenetic adaptogens? Epigenetics is a field of study that was co-founded by Bruce Lipton and Joel Wallach. You should research both Bruce Lipton and Joel Wallach. I would especially read Dr. Wallach's books. Bruce Lipton has some kooky ideas regarding like thoughts and stuff like that, but I would highly encourage folks to read Dr. Wallach's books, particularly Dead Doctors Don't Lie. So what are epigenetic adaptogens? Epigenetics is a field of study that focuses on gene expression, but instead of focusing on the genome and its structure, epigenetics is a field of study centered around the epigenome and focuses on the expression of genes. What is the epigenome? This refers to the biochemical tags that regulate gene expression. Researchers found that these chemical tags can attach themselves to DNA and its peripheral structures. When they attach themselves to specific sites on DNA, they can alter how the gene operates. So epigenetic adaptogens are compounds that can promote balance in these chemical tags. One of the most common biochemical tags studied in epigenetics is DNA methylation. This refers to the biological process where methyl groups are added to specific DNA sites over time. This can modify it's not just how they're added, it's also how they're taken away. Methylation is adding or taking away of methyl groups. So keep that in mind. They only said add it, but it's also taking away. So why are epigenetic adaptogens, and it does change the way genes are expressed. So why are epigenetic adaptogens important? There's growing interest in learning more about epigenetics and the epigenome because there are potential health interventions. There's very little you can do to alter your genes. You inherit blah, 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 blah. Certain lifestyle and environmental factors can influence your epigenome, however. So, on top of that, research shows that epigenetic modifications may contribute to aging. Other studies also show that it triggers the development of chronic illnesses, such as cardiovascular disease, type 1. See, if it causes aging, it's going to cause these diseases, which are technically symptoms of aging, which would be things like cardiovascular disease, type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, obesity, autoimmune issues, and certain types of cancer. Now, I highly recommend that you read Morgan Levine's book, True Age, to understand how these are symptoms of the overall process of aging. Okay, again, so far, the books that you're going to be reading are Younger You by Dr. Kara Fitzgerald, naturopathic doctor. You're going to want to read Dead Doctors Don't Lie by Joel Wallach, doctor of veterinary medicine and naturopathic doctor. And you're going to want to read True Age by Dr. Morgan Levine, PhD. Okay, so read those 3 books. Researchers are finding ways to modify the epigenome to help prevent and treat these illnesses, okay? What are the sources of epigenetic adaptogens? Various berries, cruciferous vegetables, fresh or dried rosemary. Again, read the book Younger You. Green tea and cocoa. They're not mentioning cocoa. I don't know why. Cocoa is actually a much stronger source of these things. Shiitake mushrooms, turmeric. Okay, so try to find ways to incorporate these foods into your diet to promote your epigenome. Okay, and let's move on here. So, I would also recommend you read the Kaufman Protocol and the Kaufman Protocol Solutions. So far, the books that you're going to be reading are what? You're going to be reading Younger You by Kara Fitzgerald, naturopathic doctor, okay? You're going to want to read Dead Doctors Don't Lie by Joel Wallach, doctor of veterinary medicine and naturopathic doctor. You're also going to want to read Younger You by Morgan Levine, okay, PhD. And now you're going to want to read the Kaufman Protocol and the Kaufman Protocol Solutions by Dr. Sandra Kaufman. So these are some of the basically the epigenetic modifiers that you can take as a pill that Dr. Kaufman recommends that you take, and these include alpha-ketoglutarate, aloe vera. Aloe vera, this is why I would read her book. Some of these don't really matter very much, like aloe vera. Alpha-lipoic acid does matter quite a bit. Okay, so andrographolide, epigenin, and again, you can get this from parsley, so that's also... You eat a tablespoon of parsley, dried parsley a day, you're getting plenty of epigenin. This is again why you want to read Younger You. Astaxanthin, astragalus, berberine, black seed oil, carnosine, okay, centella asiatica, chebulic acid, chlorogenic acid, okay, coenzyme Q10. Now notice you can purchase these, the links to purchase these. Dr. Kaufman does not make or sell any of these supplements. These are just links to what she considers the best sources. As she has stated, she does this as a hobby. To her, anti-aging is a hobby. Curcumin, where to purchase. Okay, this is a chemical that's usually available as macaberry, EGCG. Ecolonia cava, ellagic acid, fisetin, Ganoderma lucidum. Now again, a lot of these you're going to find out in Younger You. You can get these from foods. Okay, that's well and good. You can get more of them if you follow Dr. Kaufman's protocol. Okay, Ganoderma lucidum, hyaluronic acid, Hemifera par whatever, lactoferrin, magnesium threonate, melatonin, metformin, naringenin, nicotinamide riboside. Okay, as you can tell, this is pterostilbene. Pterostilbene, I would highly recommend that you get this from a pill. In the simple, I take pterostilbene every day, but the reason why is because, as Dr. Kaufman says, you'd have to eat like 9 gallons of blueberries. Okay, quercetin, obviously I'm a big believer in quercetin. I take 3 grams of it a day, between 2 and 3 grams a day. Resveratrol, rosmaric acid. Now again, you're going to have to read these books and think for yourself, well, what do I want? How do I want to do this? Spermidine, which one of these affects me in the best way? And that's why you actually have to read the books and measure out what fits you. Vitamin C. Okay. Yerba mate. Okay. Now what you also have to take into consideration, things like yerba mate, which has caffeine, and EGCG. Okay, you got to be careful because you don't want to take too much caffeine. Now, EGCG isn't caffeine, but if you're taking green tea extract, if it's not decaffeinated green tea extract, it's going to have caffeine. And also, if you take cocoa, there's going to be caffeine and theobromine in the cocoa. So you got to be aware of that stuff too. Moving on. Quercetin as a potential therapeutic agent in central nervous system disorders. I've gone through this in previous videos. Now I'm going to go right to the results because I don't want to go over the whole paper again. But I am a huge believer in quercetin. As I just said, I take between 2 and 3 grams a day. Sometimes I'll take 4 grams if I have a cold or something like that. So discussion and conclusions. Quercetin is a safe, health protective, and common food ingredient that is easy to isolate, either in pure or glycosylated form. Both are generally characterized by low bioavailability. Now, they are, but this is why you take them with piperine and digestive enzymes, especially like, oh my gosh, what's that in pineapple? But there's obviously you would take it with digestive enzymes, and vitamin C also helps you to absorb it. Now with me, I take about 8 grams of vitamin C a day, so I'm not going to have any trouble absorbing quercetin when I take it with my 4 grams of vitamin C in the morning. Okay, or my 4 grams of vitamin C in the evening. I take quercetin at both times. Quercetin's activity has been widely studied, and many pathways that contribute to its mode of action have been reported. The more relevant and prominent molecular and cellular targets in terms of therapeutic application is neurodegeneration and mental disorders are shown. However, it should be remembered that up until now, quercetin is used only as a diet supplement. So keep that in mind. It does target neurodegenerative disorders and mental health disorders, okay? So keep that in mind. It is studied for that. Quercetin seems to be promising in alleviating different symptoms of diseases, as it is generally a highly reactive structure, and subsequently its biological activity is pronounced. Clinical studies are essential to prove its efficacy, blah, 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 blah. An analysis of the available literature on the effects of quercetin in animal models allows us to conclude that active doses of quercetin, 10 to 30 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, or relatively high, indicating very strong or even weak effect exerted by the compound. The preclinical and clinical effectiveness of quercetin is limited due to its low water solubility. Again, if you're taking it with fatty foods, it's going to absorb better. Okay, many researchers recognize these features as a reason for weak in vivo blah blah blah. Okay, obviously quercetin. Furthermore, okay, so it helps the cancer. Furthermore, instead of study protocols, yada 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 yada. Furthermore, in terms of mental disorders, the antidepressant potential of quercetin in animal models is undeniable. The antidepressant potential of quercetin in animals is undeniable. Another promising direction of research seems blah blah blah, especially if you affect it, so it helps with anxiety. Quercetin either as free compound or okay. Summary: undoubtedly, quercetin is a biologically active agent with apparent impact on the central nervous system. It helps with central nervous system disorders. The clinical studies in terms of cognitive improvements or the described case study in brain cancer prove its potential. So, it's been proven helpful in cognitive impairment and brain cancer. Okay, so I'm going to move on here. I encourage people to read up on quercetin. Obviously, the basis of an orthomolecular approach to health is healthy eating, okay? And people will go, I don't know how to eat healthy. How do I eat healthy? Blah, 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 blah. So this is T. Colin Campbell's website. T. Colin Campbell is responsible for the China study. The China study is by far the most comprehensive ever research on nutrition. It proves the efficacy of a 100% plant-based diet at alleviating, reversing, and on top of that, preventing many health issues, especially cancer and cardiovascular disease. These are many of the recipes that you can eat on the China study diet. Okay, so these are so sweet and savory plant-based recipes, blah, blah, blah. These are 729 recipes. I'm obviously not going to read all of them. Nacho spice blend, grilled vegan Mexican sweet corn, tacos al pastor, en-free whatever, shaved Brussels sprout salad, key lime avocado pie, air fryer bow tie pasta chips, jackfruit crabless cakes, vegan instant pot jackfruit white bean chili, torta de platano plantain bread, carrot dogs, carrot cake energy bites, Hoppin' John salad, homemade Cezanne, sweet plantain pastelone, soy curl chicken salad, vegetable fried rice, lasagna stew, vegan whatever, Puerto Rican stewed beans, chipotle mushroom tacos, roasted cauliflower steaks with lemon, pasta whatever, oil-free easy French hummus dressing, seaside lime tacos. Moving on. To be generally healthy, you don't necessarily have to give up all meat. Okay, but you should eat a plant-centered diet. These are recipes from the Mediterranean diet. This is oldwayspt.org. Okay, so what you want to do is, so some of the recipes are peanut-crusted chicken, creamed coconut greens with lime, everything green chickpea salad, Three Sisters wild rice salad, 100% whole wheat pain de mia, 100% whole wheat sandwich bread, 50% whole grain, no knead bread, ABC meatloaf soup, black-eyed pea fritters. I would not fry anything. I'm just letting you know that. I would not eat anything deep fried, and the reason why is it affects your epigenome. Adobo-inspired vegetables, adrak masour dal. Okay, and again, you got pages up on pages up on pages, African heritage, mango, and papaya. So these are the different heritage recipes, not just Mediterranean diet, but the Mediterranean diet, the African heritage diet, the Latin American heritage diet, and the Asian heritage diet, all of which are basically the same damn diet, and all of which have the same health benefits, and all of which will help with epigenetic adaptogenic qualities. So I want to point out that quercetin provides protection against peripheral nerve damage, okay? This is caused by a poisoning with vincristine in rats by suppressing a certain genetic pathway. This is very important because peripheral neuropathy, peripheral nerve damage is a problem regarding in the problems with with autonomic dysfunction. So you got to keep that in mind, and it does this through the modification of genetic pathways, and it also helps to, of course, prevent cancer. I would strongly advise people read this on their own. I'm going to go right to the results here. So vincristine-induced peripheral neurotoxicity causes dose limitation in cancer treatment, blah, blah, blah. So it's a chemotherapy drug. Conclusion, consequently, it was detected that quercetin has a protective effect against peripheral neurotoxicity induced by vincristine. The protective effect of quercetin has been shown to occur through the activation of antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-apoptotic mechanisms. These results are thought to shed light on further research to examine quercetin's protective mechanisms against peripheral neurotoxicity. Okay, moving on. Endothelial dysfunction can be a problem in autonomic dysfunction, which is one of the reasons the blood pressure is going crazy. It's one of the reasons that your belly's going crazy, because of the endothelial muscles, okay? So let's go on here. So 2 weeks of taurine supplementation reverses endothelial dysfunction in males with type 1 diabetes, okay? So type 1 diabetics, blah, 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 accelerated cardiovascular disease. Now, this is endothelial function inside the arteries, okay? But endothelial function, you also have endothelial muscles all throughout your intestines. So, in young asymptomatic smokers, taurine supplementation has a beneficial impact on macrovascular function. Okay, it shows that it upregulates nitric oxide, blah, 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 blah. Controls the taurine supplementation reverses early detectable conduit vessel abnormalities in young male diabetics. Keep that in mind. Taurine, an amino acid, shows benefit for endothelial function, to improve endothelial function. One of the big things you'll find with autonomic dysfunction is they'll tell you to get more sodium and get more fluid, okay? So the influence, I wouldn't just stick with sodium, I'd go for various electrolytes, magnesium, potassium. You don't want to just get sodium. So the context, and you have to understand, exercise-associated muscle cramps, it doesn't have to be exercise-associated autonomic dysfunction, okay? That's why they're telling you to get more sodium, okay? So 9 participants experienced cramps in the carbohydrate electrolyte trial, blah, blah, blah. Conclusion, consumption of carbohydrate electrolyte beverage before and during exercise in a hot environment may delay the onset of, exercise-induced muscle cramps. Okay, I would recommend, taking electrolytes if you're not getting enough from your food, okay? And if you're following a whole food diet and you're not salting your food, you're probably not getting enough. I would read this on your own, I would research this on your own, and I would talk to a physician about it and a dietitian about it, but I'm going to move on here. So this is why I take 1,200 milligrams of magnesium as recommended by my cardiologist. What does magnesium help with? Magnesium helps with anxiety, as well as many cardiology complaints, okay? So, let's see here, let's go. Can magnesium ease or improve anxiety? Magnesium plays an important role in supporting brain function, has been called nature's Valium. Okay, because of this, magnesium has been linked with reducing anxiety. It helps with GABA reception in the brain. Magnesium reduces stress hormones in the brain. It helps reduce brain inflammation. How do I take magnesium? Of course, you can get it from green leafy vegetables. Supplements, you're probably not getting enough magnesium, especially if you're not a vegan. Okay, because you're probably not eating enough green leafy vegetables, and even if you are a vegan, you're probably not. Okay, but now this idea that consuming mineral water is going to give you magnesium, that's a load of shit. There's not enough magnesium in mineral water to do anything. I personally take magnesium citrate, However, there are other forms of magnesium. Now, I take it in 200 milligram doses 3 times a day. I get like 600. I get more than that. But I get about 1,200 milligrams. Sometimes I'll take 2 600 milligram doses. My stomach has adjusted to it. Some people, you remember that magnesium in high doses is a laxative. If your stomach is not adjusted to it, it's going to have a laxative effect. I can actually take 600 milligrams at a time and be perfectly fine. Most people would not be. The same thing with the vitamin C that I take. I can take 10 grams of vitamin C and it's not going to affect my stomach because my stomach is acclimated to it. Other people's are not. How much magnesium should I take? So obviously a typical dose is 310 to 420 milligrams a day. If you're taking high doses like I am, talk to a cardiologist. Okay? That's absolutely mandatory because there are side effects from doses as high as I'm taking. However, if your cardiologist is saying you need to be taking this, obviously discuss it with your cardiologist. There's a reason that cardiologists are suggesting magnesium at this point. Are there any side effects? It's rare to experience any side effects from taking magnesium as long as you do not consume too much. Signs of magnesium toxicity include irregular heartbeat, lethargy, low blood pressure, muscle weakness, dizziness, and labored breathing. However, magnesium toxicity and serious side effects are very uncommon, making magnesium safe for consumption. The most common side effect of magnesium is, of course, loose stools. How long does it take for magnesium to reduce anxiety? In most cases, magnesium starts working within a week. What kind of magnesium should I take? I already went over that. Medical research has linked magnesium to reduced anxiety. Magnesium helps you to relax by stimulating the production of melatonin and serotonin, which boost your mood and help you sleep. Magnesium also reduces the production of cytokines and cortisol, so it helps knock back inflammation. Okay, moving on. Magnesium promotes the regeneration of peripheral nerves. This is very important with autonomic dysfunction because autonomic dysfunction is a form of neuropathy. So magnesium and peripheral nerve injury. Magnesium is the 4th most abundant mineral in ion in the body, yada, yada, yada. Peripheral nerve injuries are usually caused by inflammation, tumors, and traumatic injuries. Present, da, 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 da. Okay, magnesium ion is one of the necessary ions for cell metabolism. It's protective for the nerves. It helps inhibit the inflammatory response. Obviously, read this on your own. It promotes cell proliferation and axon regeneration. The ideal degradation rate of magnesium should match the growth rate of nerve tissue. Yada yada yada. Magnesium metal. Now, if you're eating a considerable amount of fruits and vegetables, you're not going to necessarily be getting too little potassium. I also recommend using a salt substitute or a light salt that's a mixture. It's either completely potassium, it's a potassium product, or one that is sodium and potassium. Potassium is one of 7, and I also recommend taking seaweed, about 1/8 of a teaspoon of seaweed a day to get extra microminerals. Again, you want to read Dr. Joel Wallach's books, obviously. So let's see here. So as Dr. Bruce Ames says, one of the problems is not necessarily that you're getting too much sodium so much as you're not getting enough potassium. Nerve and muscle symptoms. One of the main roles of potassium in controlling nerve muscle function. Your nerves need small amounts of potassium to function, since potassium, along with sodium, helps your nerves send electrical signals required for nervous system function. You also need sodium and potassium to control fluid balance. So without that, you're going to become dehydrated. Water alone is not enough to keep you properly hydrated. You need proper mineral balance. If you have too little potassium in your body, you might notice abnormal nerve function that affects your sense of touch and muscle control. You might notice numbness and tingling since your nerves can also no longer communicate with your muscle cells properly.